The Quiet Boy and the Movie Star. The store was quiet, except for the soft hum of fluorescent lights and the gentle rustle of plastic bags. It was a small neighborhood market tucked away behind an old gas station, the kind of place where faces were familiar and time moved just a little slower. It was a place where people still said good morning and knew each other by name. And it was a place that 17-year-old Jamie, a boy with Down syndrome, called his second home. Jamie had worked there for over a year now. He didn't do everything, but what he did with all his heart. He stacked shelves carefully, made sure the fruit was always fresh, and helped customers with bags if they needed. And more than anything, he smiled, wide, warm, and honest. People said his smile could make even the coldest day feel like sunshine. Today started like any other. Jamie had just finished lining up the apples when he heard the bell above the door chime. He turned and gave his usual cheerful wave, not knowing that the man who walked in wasn't going to return it. The man was tall, dressed in a suit too sharp for this kind of store. His watch shimmered, his phone never left his hand, and his eyes scanned the place like it wasn't worth his time. Jamie, not noticing the tension, walked up to him and offered his help. "Hi, sir," he said gently. "Do you need help finding something?" The man didn't even look at him. Jamie stood there a moment longer, thinking maybe the man didn't hear. "I can help with the drinks or—" "Don't talk to me," the man snapped, finally turning with narrowed eyes. "Can't you see I'm busy?" Jamie blinked, his hand still holding the basket he was about to carry. I just wanted to help." "Help?" The man laughed sharply. "You people are barely capable of standing in one spot, let alone helping someone like me. Why don't you go wipe a shelf or something?" The words landed like bricks. Jamie stood frozen, confused, then embarrassed. The smile faded. His shoulders dropped. He turned and slowly walked back to the aisle, head down. What the man didn't know was that someone else had been in the store for the past 10 minutes. Someone quiet, sitting by the coffee machine in the corner, reading a paper, wearing sunglasses and a cap low over his face. It was Keanu Reeves. He had come to the small town to visit an old friend from his childhood. He had stopped by this market, for some snacks and a cup of tea, hoping for a moment of peace. But what he just witnessed shattered that. Keanu stood slowly, folding the paper, and placed his tea down. He watched as Jamie reached the stock shelf, eyes wet, fingers trembling as he rearranged cans that didn't even need rearranging. The boy kept his head down, but even from where he stood, Keanu could see the pain written all over him. The man in the suit continued walking through the aisles like nothing happened. He muttered something under his breath when he passed the elderly woman near the freezer. He acted like he owned the place. Keanu walked slowly toward the counter, where the store owner, Mr. Barami, stood in silence. He had seen what happened, but said nothing. Not because he agreed, but because he was afraid of confrontation. He was a kind man, old and soft-spoken, but not brave. "Does that boy work for you?" Keanu asked softly. Mr. Barami nodded. "He's like a son to me. He's always early, never complains. His parents passed years ago. He lives with his aunt." Keanu looked back toward the aisle. Jamie had wiped his face on his sleeve and tried to pretend everything was fine. "Do you get customers like him often?" Keanu asked, pointing subtly toward the rude man. Mr. Barami sighed. "Not often, but every once in a while. Yes, most people love Jamie, but a few are cruel." Keanu nodded. Then he did something that surprised the old shopkeeper. He took off his sunglasses and pulled back his cap. "What are you doing?" Mr. Barami whispered in shock. "Reminding that man who he's talking to," Keanu said, eyes sharp. The man in the suit had just picked up a bottle of water when Keanu approached him. "Excuse me," Keanu said, voice calm but firm. The man turned, ready to snap again, but paused when he saw Keanu's face. His eyes went wide. You're Keanu Reeves." "That's right," Keanu replied. "And I watched what you just did." The man tried to smile, to spin his tone. Look, it was nothing, just a joke. It wasn't a joke, Keanu interrupted. And it wasn't nothing. That boy, Jamie, was trying to help you. He smiled at you like you mattered, and you treated him like he was dirt. The man looked uncomfortable now. Come on, it's just a kid. Why do you care? Because I know what it's like to be treated like you're invisible, Keanu said. I know what it's like to be in pain and still offer kindness, and I know that boy didn't deserve what you said. The store had gone silent. Even Mr. Behrami stood frozen behind the counter. Jamie peeked from behind the shelf, watching, confused. If you can't treat people with basic respect, Keanu said, you don't deserve to be served. What do you want me to do? The man said, his arrogance breaking. Keanu pointed toward the door. Leave. The man hesitated, looked around, then scoffed. You're crazy. Keanu didn't blink. Then we can wait here until everyone in the world sees the footage from the cameras. At that, the man paled. He grumbled something under his breath, dropped the bottle of water, and stormed out the door. There was a silence, then a slow clap from the woman by the coffee machine. Then the others joined in. Even Mr. Behrami clapped, but Jamie didn't move. Keanu turned to him and walked over. You okay? He asked gently. Jamie nodded slowly. I thought I did something wrong. You didn't, Keanu said. He did. Jamie looked at him with wide eyes. You're really him? Keanu smiled. Yeah, and you know what? You're my hero today. Jamie blushed, tears forming again. I just wanted to help. And you did, Keanu replied. You reminded everyone in this store what kindness looks like, and I won't forget that. That night, Keanu didn't go home. He stayed and helped close the store with Jamie and Mr. Behrami. He asked Jamie about his favorite music, his dreams, his life. He laughed with him, listened to him, and even walked him home to his aunt. But what no one knew was that this moment would not end there. Because the next morning, a video of what happened in the store went viral, and Jamie's life was about to change forever. Overnight hero, silent storm. The sun rose gently over the small town, painting the rooftops in soft gold. It was peaceful, quiet, until the buzz of 1,000 phones broke the silence. Jamie's story had traveled farther than anyone expected. Someone in the store had recorded the entire encounter with the rude customer. They uploaded the video with a simple caption. He tried to humiliate this boy, but Keanu Reeves was watching. Within hours, it had exploded. News outlets picked it up. Celebrities reposted it. Hashtags like, "Why stand with Jamie," and "I be kind like Keanu" flooded the internet. But the one person who had no idea about any of it was Jamie himself. He woke up early as always, dressed in his store uniform, and tiptoed out of his aunt's house. He didn't check his phone because he never used it for anything more than music. He didn't know millions of people were saying his name with love and respect. Keanu, on the other hand, was very aware. He hadn't slept much. His phone was full of messages, directors, journalists, friends, all asking the same thing. Who is the boy? How can we help? But Keanu didn't want to make it about himself. He wanted to make sure Jamie's story stayed honest and respectful. So he reached out to Mr. Behrami and said, "Don't tell him yet. Let me come to the store. I want to be there when he finds out." When Jamie arrived at the market, he noticed something strange. The parking lot was full. There were people outside holding flowers, small posters that read, "We love you, Jamie," and even camera crews. Jamie froze in his tracks. "What's going on?" he whispered to himself. Inside, Mr. Behrami stood behind the counter, overwhelmed but smiling. Jamie pushed the door open slowly, unsure if he should be there. "Jamie," Mr. Behrami called out with warmth. "Come here, my boy." Jamie walked in, eyes wide. Some people began clapping. One woman knelt and handed him a bouquet of sunflowers. "These are for you," she said. "Thank you for being you." Jamie blinked. Me? Just then, Keanu stepped out from the back room wearing a black hoodie, casual jeans, and that same calm smile. You're famous now, Keanu said, walking up to him. I don't understand, Jamie said quietly. Keanu gently guided him to the back office and placed a tablet in his hands. Just watch this. He pressed play on a video with over 20 million views. It was the recording from the store, the cruel words, Jamie's heartbreak, and then Keanu's calm defense. But the comments underneath, that's what mattered most. This boy is an angel. My daughter has Down syndrome. Jamie gives me hope. This made me cry. Bless this young man, and bless Keanu. Jamie's lips trembled. They're talking about me? Yes, Keanu said, kneeling to meet his eyes. Because they saw who you really are. Kind, brave, full of light. Jamie shook, his head overwhelmed. But I'm just me. And that, Keanu said softly, is more than enough. Mr. Barami stepped into the room. Jamie, people have been calling all morning. Someone from a news station wants to do a live interview. And a family-owned company from Chicago offered to sponsor your education, if you ever want to study. Jamie stared at them both. I don't know what to say. Keanu put a hand on his shoulder. You don't have to say anything. Just be yourself. That's what the world needs right now. Suddenly, Jamie's aunt rushed into the store, eyes wide, with tears. Jamie? My sweet boy, why didn't you tell me everything? Jamie hugged her tightly. I didn't know, Auntie. I was just trying to do my job. She kissed his forehead and smiled through her tears. And look at what you've done. Outside. The crowd grew. People brought handmade cards. Children came with drawings. And some just stood silently, showing respect. Many of them had family members with disabilities. Many had been hurt before, ignored, humiliated. And Jamie, without meaning to, had become a voice for them all. But while the world was celebrating Jamie, there was one person who was not pleased. The man in the suit, his face had been blurred in the viral video, but some still figured out who he was, a former executive at a finance company. Soon his company made a public statement condemning his actions. Then, quietly, he was let go. And now, he was angry. He blamed Jamie. He blamed the store. And more than anything, he blamed Keanu. He started making calls, tried to reach out to news stations with lies, saying the video was staged, fake. But no, one believed him. Still, bitterness festered. Meanwhile, back in the store, something unexpected happened. Jamie turned to Keanu and said, I don't want to be famous. It makes my stomach hurt. Keanu chuckled gently. You don't have to do interviews if you don't want. But if you ever feel ready, the world will listen. Jamie thought for a moment. Maybe just one, for the kids like me. So they know. It's okay to be slow sometimes, Keanu smiled. That sounds perfect. The next day, Jamie sat in a small chair with lights around him, wearing his best shirt. Beside him, Keanu sat, offering quiet support. The interviewer asked gentle questions. Jamie spoke slowly, but clearly. I like to help people, he said. Sometimes people laugh or say mean things, but Mr. Keanu didn't laugh. He stood up. And now people are nice to me. I hope they're nice to other kids too. The clip aired on national TV. It was shared everywhere. But even as the light grew around Jamie, a shadow crept from behind. The man in the suit had disappeared from public view, but he wasn't finished. He was planning something that could ruin everything, something even Keanu Reeves wouldn't see coming. The setup, the days that followed, were filled with kindness Jamie had never known before. People waved to him on the street. Someone painted a mural outside the store with a bright blue background and Jamie's smile in the middle. Kids from the local school wrote letters saying he was their hero. His aunt cried quietly every night, not from sadness but from pride. But not all eyes watching were kind. In a cold, silent room across the city, the man in the suit sat behind a desk in a rented office space. His name was Derek, and Derek was consumed with rage. He had lost everything: his job, his standing, even his friends. All because of a moment he thought would be forgotten. A moment the world saw because of a video he never agreed to. He watched clip after clip, seeing his blurred figure made into a villain online. He muttered, "They don't even know the full story. They made me a monster." But Derek wasn't interested in fixing his image anymore. He wanted revenge. He knew going after Keanu directly would only make him look worse. So he focused on someone easier, someone innocent. Jamie. His plan was simple: make Jamie stumble, then pretend it was the truth all along, that the whole thing had been fake. He hired a fake customer, a young woman, well-dressed, with a hidden microphone. Her job was to go into the store, pretend to be a struggling single mother, and see if Jamie would treat her poorly. Say something wrong, make a mistake. Derek would then edit the audio, twist the story, and post it as proof that the viral hero wasn't real at all. And it almost worked. It was a quiet Wednesday afternoon when the woman walked into the store. Jamie was wiping down the counter and humming his favorite song. The woman approached slowly, carrying a small bag and pretending to limp. "Excuse me," she said, sounding tired. "Do you have any help for people who don't have money? I just need milk for my baby. Please." Jamie looked up, surprised. "You don't have money?" he asked kindly. "No," she said, voice trembling. "I just lost my job. They're going to turn off my lights. I don't know what to do." Jamie didn't hesitate. He turned around, pulled a few dollars from his pocket, the tips Mr. Barami gave him yesterday, and handed it over. "You can take 2 cartons, he said, "and some bread. I don't want your baby to be hungry." The woman froze. She hadn't expected this. She had been told to provoke him, maybe push him, maybe get a nervous reaction. But this kindness? She took the money, with trembling. "Hands. Thank you," she said, her voice cracking. She bought the milk. She walked out, and then she didn't go to Derek. She went straight to a reporter. Hours later, a new video surfaced. This time, it wasn't a scandal. It was a confession. The woman told the world what Derek had hired her to do. She explained everything. How he paid her, what he told her to say, how he wanted her to break Jamie's spirit. But she couldn't do it. "That boy," she said through tears, "he gave me his own money. He didn't even know me. And in that moment, I couldn't be a part of anything that would hurt him." The video hit the internet like a lightning strike. Derek's name was no longer blurred. Within hours, he was trending for all the wrong reasons. Again, this time, there was no escape. Police were called. Not for what he said before, but for conspiracy and manipulation, trying to frame someone with a disability. His company issued a public apology. Lawsuits followed, but more importantly, something else happened. People began flooding Jamie's story with even more love, because now they saw just how deeply kind he truly was. Even when tested, even when trapped. When Keanu heard the news, he drove to the store immediately. Jamie was in the back room restocking canned goods. "Hey," Keanu said softly, entering with a gentle knock. Jamie turned and smiled. "Hi, Mr. Keanu." "I saw what you did." Jamie shrugged. She looked like she needed help. Keanu knelt beside him. "You were set up, Jamie. They tried to trick you." "I know," Jamie said. "But even if it was a trick, what if it wasn't? What if she was really hungry? I didn't want to risk it." Keanu's eyes stung. "You are braver than most people I know." Jamie blushed. "You always say that." "Because it's always true." Keanu then stood and looked around. "This world, it's hard, Jamie. But people like you remind us what it means to be human." Jamie looked up, thoughtful. "Do you think, maybe, I could help more people?" "What do you mean?" Keanu asked. Jamie took a deep breath. Maybe I could talk to kids like me. Tell them it's okay to be different. Maybe even make videos. Keanu smiled. You want to tell your story? Jamie nodded. Yeah, so no one feels small like I did that day. Keanu pulled out his phone and said, Then let's start right now. He hit record, and Jamie spoke. Nervous at first, but steady. Hi, my name is Jamie. People used to think I was too slow or too different to help. But I like helping. I like smiling. And if you're someone like me, I want you to know, you matter. Even if the world doesn't say it, I'm saying it. The video was posted by Keanu himself, and it went viral again. But this time, it wasn't just views. It was a movement. Schools reached out. Nonprofits called. A famous author asked to write Jamie's story into a children's book. And in one quiet moment, Keanu looked at him and said, You're not just inspiring people, Jamie. You're leading them. Jamie blinked. I'm a leader? Yes, Keanu smiled. The best kind. The kind who leads with kindness. But something even bigger was coming, because deep in the heart of Hollywood, a major studio had been watching. And they had one question. What if Jamie wasn't? Just a moment, what if he was a movie? Hollywood calls. But Jamie hesitates. The buzz around Jamie had reached a new level. What started as a viral video was now something much bigger, something Keanu himself hadn't expected. After the woman's confession went public and Derek was arrested, media around the world hailed Jamie not only as a symbol of kindness, but also as someone who stood firm in the face of evil without even knowing it. In a studio office tucked high above Los Angeles, a meeting was in session. Producers and executives were huddled around a large screen replaying the clip of Jamie helping the woman, followed by his message to the world. This is it, said the lead producer. Real heart, real innocence. This isn't a movie idea. This is a movie waiting to happen, they agreed, and one of them picked up the phone. Keanu Reeves answered on the first ring. Hello? He said, his voice calm as always. Keanu, we want to make a movie about Jamie. Keanu paused. That's not my decision to make. We understand. We'd love for you to be part of it, maybe as producer or narrator. But most of all, we want Jamie to be involved. We want his permission, his voice, maybe even him in it. Keanu smiled slowly. Then you ask him. Just know, he's not looking for fame. Be honest with him. 2 days later, Jamie and his aunt sat across from the studio team in a quiet coffee shop, Keanu sitting beside them, offering gentle support. The producer leaned forward and said softly, Jamie, we saw your video. We saw how you helped people, how you kept being kind even when others weren't. We think your story can help others too. We want to make a movie about you. Jamie looked confused. A real movie? Yes, the producer smiled. One where millions more can learn from you. We'll guide you. Nothing fake. All true. All you. Jamie looked down. He held his aunt's hand under the table. I don't know, he said quietly. I'm not an actor. I get nervous when too many people look at me. His aunt squeezed his hand. You don't have to say yes, sweetheart. Only if you want to, Keanu added. And I'll be with you the whole way, I promise. Jamie was quiet for a long time. Finally, he looked up and said, What if I'm messy? It up? What if people laugh at me? The room went still. Keanu leaned in closer. Jamie, people already saw you at your truest, and they loved you, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Even if you mess up, even if you forget your lines, it won't change who you are, and that's what they want to see. Jamie's eyes filled with tears. Okay, he whispered. I'll try. That was all they needed. Soon, preparations began. The film would be a small project at first, part documentary, part drama. They decided not to use a full script. Instead, they would follow Jamie's real life and mix it with reenactments of everything that had happened. They brought in a kind, patient director who had worked with children and people with disabilities before. They kept the film crew small. They allowed Jamie to be involved in every choice, from how scenes looked to who played Mr. Barami and his aunt. But as the camera started rolling, Jamie's fears slowly returned. On the third day of filming, during a scene where he was supposed to act out the first time he met the rude man, he froze. He stood in the aisle holding a basket and couldn't speak. The actor playing the rude customer waited awkwardly. The director said, "Cut," and walked over gently. "Jamie, do you want to stop for today?" Jamie looked at Keanu, who was standing behind the lights. "I don't want to remember that day," Jamie whispered. "It made me feel like I was broken." Keanu walked over and knelt beside him. "Then let's not relive it. Let's talk about it instead. Tell me what you felt, not what happened." Jamie thought deeply. "I felt like I was a balloon and he popped me. Like I was trying to fly and he stepped on my string." Keanu nodded. "That's powerful. Let's say that in the movie." Just like that. And they did. In the film, instead of acting out that scene, Jamie sat in his favorite chair, looked into the camera and said, "He popped me like a balloon, and I didn't understand why." The raw honesty touched everyone on set. Days passed. Filming continued. There were laughs, bloopers, even quiet tears. Jamie spoke about his parents for the first time on camera. He shared how he used to be scared of loud noises, how some kids never invited him to their birthday parties, how he thought no one would ever like him except his aunt. But then he smiled and said, "Then I met Mr. Barami and Mr. Keanu and all of you." He became more confident as the days went on. He asked to help with lighting one day. He offered suggestions to the music team another. He even made sandwiches for the crew one morning with a little note in each bag that said, "Thank you for seeing me," Keanu told him. "You're the best team member anyone could ask for." As filming neared the final week, Jamie had one more surprise waiting. A school across the country had watched his videos and written letters. Hundreds of them. Kids with disabilities, kids with anxiety, kids who felt invisible. One letter read, "Dear Jamie, I didn't think people like us mattered until I saw your face on TV. Now I think maybe I do too." Jamie cried when he read it. "How can I help them more?" he asked. Keanu thought for a long moment. "How about a foundation?" he said. "What's that?" Jamie asked. "A place that helps others. We could raise money for kids like you, maybe build programs, share stories, teach kindness." Jamie's eyes lit up. "Can we call it the Balloon Foundation?" Keanu smiled. "Perfect. But just as things felt perfect, something happened. The day before the final shoot, a note was left at the store's back door. No return address, no name. Inside was a message, typed in red. "You don't deserve this. This is fake. People will see soon." Jamie froze as he read it. His hands shook. He handed the note to Mr. Barami, who called Keanu immediately. They reported it. The police started an investigation. The store installed new cameras. Jamie tried to act strong, but the fear returned. "What if they're right?" he whispered. "What if I don't deserve any of this?" Keanu sat beside him quietly. "You don't have to fight this alone," he said. "Let the people who believe in you stand with you." "But what if someone tries to hurt the store?" Jamie asked. "Or you?" "Then we protect each other," Keanu said. "And we finish this movie, not for them, but for the kids who wrote you letters." Jamie nodded slowly. "Okay," he said. "I'll finish it. I'm not a balloon anymore." The stage, the storm, and the standing ovation. The morning of the final shoot arrived like a soft whisper. Cool breeze through the trees, sunlight peeking through clouds, and Jamie sitting in silence near the edge of the park, where the last scene would be filmed. This scene wasn't part of the original script. It was something Jamie had suggested himself. "I want to end the movie with a picnic," he told the director days earlier, with people just sitting, eating, and being kind, no speeches, just being. So the crew gathered at a quiet field, set out a long table covered with baskets, and brought in volunteers, real people Jamie had touched with his story. Some had flown in from other states just to sit at that table. They included a mother whose son had been bullied for his speech, a teenager who wrote a poem about Jamie, and even the woman who had once tried to trick him but had since become one of his biggest supporters. Keanu arrived late that morning, not because he overslept, but because he had been at the police station all night. The note left at the store had come from someone using a fake identity. Though it didn't lead directly to Derek, there were signs of more people, others who hated what Jamie represented. Kindness, attention, truth. "We don't know who sent it," the officer told Keanu, "but the good news is Jamie's safe. We've increased patrols around the store and his house. He's protected." Keanu nodded, but said nothing. His heart was full of both fire and fear. But when he arrived at the park and saw Jamie standing under a tree, helping a little girl tie her shoe, the fear melted. This boy had faced more storms than most, and still, he chose to smile. The final scene began filming. There were no lines, no cues, just food, laughter, and the sound of birds overhead. The camera moved gently between faces, catching moments of laughter, hugs, and hands being held. Jamie sat at the center, holding a slice of watermelon, telling the girl beside him about his favorite cartoon. Keanu sat nearby, watching with quiet pride. When the director called "cut," no one moved. The moment was too beautiful to end, so they let it go on for another hour, even after the cameras stopped. When it finally ended, Jamie stood and made his way to the crew. "Thank you for helping me tell my story," he said softly. "Thank you for listening." The next few weeks flew by. Editing, music, voiceover. Keanu narrated parts of the film with a tone only he could deliver. Warm, deep, full of quiet emotion. The premiere was set for a small theater in Los Angeles. They invited the people from the film, the letter-writing children, and families from across the country who had written messages of love. There were no red carpets, no flashing lights, just a blue welcome banner with white letters. "The Balloon Boy, a story of kindness." Jamie wore his best shirt. His aunt helped him with the buttons, her hands shaking more than his. "You ready?" she whispered. Jamie took a breath. "Yes, but I'm scared." "That's okay," she said. "Even heroes get scared." Keanu arrived early, greeting guests and helping people find their seats. He kept glancing at the doors, checking security. Nothing seemed off. Until it did. Just 10 minutes before the film started, someone slipped a note under the front door of the theater. The usher picked it up, confused, and handed it to the event manager. Again, red letters. "You can't hide him forever. The world will see. Tonight." The manager rushed to Keanu, whispering the message in his ear. His face darkened. He called for increased security inside. Police were already present, but he asked for quiet attention. He did not tell Jamie. The lights dimmed. The film began. It started with the soft sound of wind. Then Jamie's voice. "Sometimes people think I can't understand them, but I can. I understand kindness. I understand when someone's heart is full." The audience sat still, spellbound. Laughter echoed. During light moments, sniffles filled the room during scenes with Jamie talking about his parents, his fears, his dreams. And when the picnic scene came, a deep calm filled the theater. Then, it happened. Just before the credits rolled, a loud shout came from the back of the theater. "He's a fraud," people gasped. Someone stood up, others froze. A man in a hood tried to rush down the aisle. But before he could even get close, police tackled him. A camera fell out of his jacket. Gasps turned into chaos for a few seconds. Jamie ducked instinctively, holding his aunt's hand tightly. Keanu stepped forward, shielding them both. The officers quickly removed the man, The screen froze. Lights came on, but something unexpected happened. Jamie stood. His hands shook, but his voice was steady. He turned to the crowd and said, "I'm not a fraud. I'm just a person, and I still want to be kind." Silence. Then applause. Then louder. Applause. A full standing ovation. Tears ran down faces. Strangers held hands. Jamie's aunt sobbed into her scarf. Keanu's eyes glistened. And Jamie, he smiled. Not because the danger was gone, but because he knew, deep in his heart, he had chosen love again. Outside, reporters waited. Jamie walked into the crowd and said to the cameras, "If you're watching this and you're scared because you're different, don't be. People will try to hurt you, but more people will stand with you. Just be kind, even when it's hard." The video of that moment went viral overnight. Again. And this time, something happened that no one expected. A global fund for children with developmental disabilities launched under Jamie's name, the Balloon Fund, and raised over $2 million in the first week. But Jamie wasn't thinking about money. He was thinking about one last thing. Something he had been planning quietly. A letter. One he had written to someone he hadn't spoken to since this journey began. A letter addressed to a prison cell. The letter, the visit, and the balloon. A month had passed since the night of the premiere. The world still buzzed with Jamie's story. News articles, interviews, schools creating kindness corners, and the Balloon Fund growing each day. But Jamie had grown quiet. Not sad, not scared, just thoughtful. Every evening, after helping Mr. Baramy at the store or working on his new videos for kids like him, he would sit in his room and read letters from people around the world. Handwritten ones, colorful ones, messy ones. But there was one letter he hadn't sent, and only Keanu knew about it. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Keanu asked one morning as they sat under a tree outside the old market. Jamie nodded. "He hurt me, but I think maybe he hurts too." Keanu looked at him with quiet admiration. "You're stronger than most grown men I know." Jamie pulled out a small white envelope. Inside it was the letter he had written weeks ago, rewritten many times. It wasn't long, just honest. "Dear Derek, I don't know why you were mean to me. I don't know why you sent bad people or left scary notes. But I'm not mad anymore. I want you to know I'm okay now. I have friends, people who see me. I hope someday you feel seen too. You don't have to like me, but I forgive you." Jamie Keanu took the envelope and said, "I'll make sure it gets there." But Jamie shook his head. "I want to take it myself." Keanu blinked. "You want to visit him?" "Yes," Jamie said calmly. "Just once. I want him to hear me say it." 2 weeks later, Jamie, Keanu, and a small legal team arrived quietly at a low-security detention center outside the city. Derek had been charged and sentenced to several months in custody, but his actions were still under review for further violations. When Jamie entered the visitation room, the guards were on high alert. The man who had once tried to humiliate and destroy him now sat behind a glass wall, unsure of why this meeting had been requested. Then he saw Jamie. His face turned pale. He stood up slowly. Jamie picked up the phone on his side of the glass. Hesitantly, Derek did the same. Jamie didn't speak right away. He looked at the man for a long time. Then he said softly, "Hi." Derek cleared his throat. You shouldn't be here." Jamie shook his head. "I wanted to be." Derek looked ashamed. "I was angry, stupid. I didn't think anyone would care about you. I didn't even care about myself." Jamie listened quietly. "When people started loving you," Derek continued, "I got jealous. I ruined everything for myself. I became the villain in your movie." Jamie frowned slightly. "You were not a villain in my movie. You were just a part of it. And now, I want to turn the page." He pulled out the letter and pressed it to the glass. "This is for you." Derek looked at the paper, then at Jamie. "Why?" he asked. After everything I did, why would you forgive me? Jamie's voice was steady. Because I don't want to carry it. I want to carry love. Derek broke down. No words. Just silent tears. Jamie stood, gave a small wave and walked away. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. He had already let it go. A year later, Jamie stood on a stage in front of 5,000 people. It was the first annual Balloon Day, a celebration of kindness, inclusion, and hope. The Balloon Foundation now had centers in 7 countries and had helped over 50,000 children access therapies, education, and support. Jamie, wearing a light blue jacket and holding a small paper in his hand, looked out at the crowd. He smiled. "My name is Jamie," he began. "I was just a boy who stacked fruit and liked to smile. Then someone tried to pop me like a balloon. But I found people who helped me float again." The audience listened in. Complete silence. "Today, I want to tell every kid who's been left out, laughed at, or called names, you are not broken. You are a balloon, and balloons are meant to fly." The crowd erupted into cheers and tears. Keanu watched from the front row, hand on his heart. Jamie's aunt wiped her eyes beside him. The ceremony ended with a surprise. 100 children, all different, from all backgrounds, stepped onto the field behind the stage, each holding a balloon, red, blue, green, yellow. Jamie raised his hand, and they all let go. The sky filled with color. But one balloon stayed behind, a silver one, tied gently to the podium. Jamie pointed to it. "This one," he said, "is for the people who hurt others. May they find peace. May they find light." The crowd clapped again, softer this time, and Jamie looked up at the sky, smiling. Not because of the cameras, not because of the praise, but because he had become exactly who he was meant to be. Not a victim, not just a hero, but a reminder. A reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can float forever.